All right. Hi, everyone. We're going to get started. My name is Duncan. I am a consultant librarian with the Peace Library System. And today we're going to go over the language learning e-resources that PLS has access to. Now, we're very lucky because we have access to two, and those are Pronunciator and Transparent Language Online. And both of these are really excellent tools for learning a new language. I'm split today into sections. We'll run through an overview of Pronunciator first, then we'll go over Transparent Language Online. I'll go over mobile versions of each of them, and then we'll look at some promo materials that have recently been made for both platforms. So both are language learning resources. They offer different training and study tools to help users independently learn new languages. And they each have unique features and varying offered languages. So at the moment, I believe Pronunciator has over 164 and Transparent Language Online has just over 110, I believe. But why do we have two? What's the benefit of having two? Well, the government of Alberta provides province-wide access to a select suite of resources, and Pronunciator is one of them. So most libraries in Alberta should have access to Pronunciator. We here at PLS have also decided to subscribe to Transparent Language Online because of the additional Indigenous language offerings, specifically the Canadian Indigenous language offerings. And this can be a really great point to bring up when talking to patrons about the resource, about what makes it different from Pronunciator. And I'll bring those up right now. So this is a list of those languages. They're all bolded on the left here, but this is the languages that are available on Transparent Language Online and that are unique to that resource. So you will not find these on Pronunciator. All right, but let's get started. So we're going to dive into Pronunciator, and the first thing we're going to do is access it. So I'm on the PLS main page here, and just like all of our other e-resources, we're going to go to this tab in the top right corner, e-resources, and when we click on it, it's going to bring up a giant alphabetical list of all the resources that we subscribe to. So I'm going to scroll down all the way to P for Pronunciator, and when we're ready, we would click on the title and it would start us with the login process to get into the resource. Now you can also do this from member library websites. So I'm on the Beaver Lodge Public Library site here, and it's set up almost in the exact same way. We have the e-resources tab in the top right. And again, it brings us our big list. So I'll scroll down and there we go, Pronunciator. Now, before we click in, we'll just take a look at some of these links that we've added. So the first is a brochure. And this brochure has been recently updated with up-to-date information, and it has info on creating an account, statistics, the different features, and then some of the languages that are available through the platform. There is also a video tutorial that is linked, and this will bring you to Niche Academy. And this is just a short 1-minute clip video, kind of giving a nice little overview of Pronunciator. We did not make this. This is courtesy of Niche Academy, but just another way of getting that, that information. So I'm going to click in. And right now it's not recognizing the URL. This might happen. It might try to redirect you to pronunciator.com, but because we're using a unique URL for PLS members to log in, we're just going to click ignore. And we're at our login page here. So new users will need to click this blue button, register. And this is where you will enter your email, which is also known as your student name. And you will create a password in this section too. So once you have an account created, you will be free to sign in, which I have already done so. So I'm going to enter my student name here and my password and hit login. Now it's giving us two options. We can either launch Pronunciator or go to My Account. And the My Account option just allows users to change things like their username and password. but we've just created ours. We're happy with it. So we're going to hit Launch Pronunciator. And again, it's going to ask for my login info. So I'm just putting in the exact same information that I've previously entered. All right, so this is the home page of Pronunciator, or the first page you're going to see once you log in. Now for new users, you will not have this bottom part here. This says last time you were here, you were studying. So I've been in here a few times, but for you, there won't be anything down here. So don't be worried if it's just blank. Now, what's great about Pronunciator is that you can specify your native language or the language that you want to learn a new language in. And you do that under I speak. So I speak, and I would click the drop down, and then I would select the language that I want to learn in, or my native tongue. So I've selected English, and they have a Canadian English option, so I've chosen that. After you've chosen under I speak, you'll go to I want to learn, and this is where you will select the language you want to learn. And so these will vary depending on your initial selection or the I speak language selection. So for example, if I chose maybe Albanian, it's even changing the text now to Albanian. But when I go under I want to learn, the list might look a little bit differently because it'll be put in alphabetical order of the language you've chosen. There might even be more or less options available depending on the language you've chosen. So just keep that in mind. But I'm going to go to I speak English, and we're going to go into the Korean lesson. All right. So these are the different features. There's essentially 4 different ways to learn in Pronunciator. We have daily lessons, personalized courses, the main course, and learning guides. Now, the available sections and features are going to vary depending on the languages you've chosen. So not every course will have an identical list of features available. The more popular courses like English speakers learning French might have way more options than other selections. But let's start at the top. We'll start with looking at daily lessons. Now, these are intended to be short lessons for those short on time, which makes it really easy for new users to dive right into learning new vocab or new skills. I would also recommend this space for veteran users who want to refresh their knowledge or maybe get back into the swing of things. But you would start by selecting your skill level. So we have 3 options. I'm going to select beginner. And when you click on one of them, a small Sunday to Saturday calendar appears underneath. Now, each of these calendars is unique to the daily lesson skill level that's been selected. So this March 21st lesson for beginners will be different than the March 21st for intermediate and for advanced. Now, these daily lessons do go all the way back to the start of 2022. They go to January 2nd. So if doing daily lessons is part of your study plan or part of your patron study plan, if they miss a few days, they are able to come back and complete the ones they've missed. But let's jump into it and see what it looks like. All right. So all of the course feature pages are sort of set up in this same way. At the very top is always going to be the what you're learning, the content. So what we are learning is day 80 according to the daily lessons. Okay, if we went to yesterday's content, it would be day 79. If we went to tomorrow's content, it'd be day 81. The top always indicates what you're learning. The colored bar here, just underneath that, will be the how you're learning, or the steps that you'll take to learn. And then underneath that, we have the actual learning itself, or the activity that you're participating in. So for daily lessons, the content that we're learning first is under audio. Okay, audio is one of the content tabs. and it appears as this video audio file. So it's going through some of the terms and the pronunciation. So what the user would do is watch and listen to this file, and then click the quizzes tab and start making their way through some of the quiz activities. Now with this audio file, you can adjust the speed level, you can make it go faster or slower. You can also download the audio file to your computer. So maybe if you were going on a trip somewhere and you won't have internet access, or you want to listen to these on the go, you could download multiple lessons, transfer the audio files to a device, or leave them on your computer, and then listen to them as need be. Okay, so once I finish watching and listening to this audio video file, what I would do next is hit quizzes, and then underneath what appears are all the different quizzes available. So things like listening comprehension, we have an audio match, reading comprehension. Basically anything with an orange star is going to be a quiz. And once completed, the orange star will fill in and it'll give you your results after each quiz. So whether you got 5 out of 5 correct or 4 out of 5, etc. All right, so those are the daily lessons. Under that, we have our personalized courses. So this is a space that allows users to create their own customized language learning course. And this is how we do that. So I'm going to click on personalized courses. You can see under here, I've already created a whole bunch of test ones. So I've all the way up to test 5. But to create a new one, we'd hit create, this blue create button. And now there are 2 different ways to customize a course. We can do it by topic or by an occupation. So if we select topic, we have to choose a minimum of 5 topics from this list. And then the course will create content based around the 5 topics that are chosen. The other way is to have all the vocab and the course content focused around a particular occupation. So maybe if I'm doing international travel for business, this would be where I want to go. So maybe manager, maybe I'm a manager and I'm traveling somewhere and I just want to have some of those terms ready for when I'm going to another country or anticipating using another language. So I'm going to hit manager and hit next. And then we have some more customization options. So we can choose our skill level, we can choose our age range, and then how many weeks we want the course to last. So you can do a minimum of 4 or all the way up to 52 weeks for a total of a year. But we'll leave it at its preset of 8 weeks. You can also customize how many new phrases you want each day. So it's preset at 6, but if you're feeling ambitious, you can do all the way up to 20. And then you can also indicate whether you want more drills or more quizzes in your course. Some of the activities will use a microphone or webcam. And this is a space when you're creating your personalized course where you can indicate whether you want those enabled or not. So I'm going to click no for both of them for this course. Okay, moving on, we have our learning goals. We're going to set some learning goals. So 1 is most important and 4 is least important, but it includes the 4 important components in learning a new language. So speaking, understanding, reading, and writing. So maybe it's more important in this course that I want to learn reading. So I would put that as my 1. And for the others, not so much. So I'm going to put the rest as 4. So now, based on my selection, the course is going to skew more towards reading drills and reading content as opposed to speaking, understanding, and writing. We can choose whether we want to receive a daily email. As a reminder, I'm going to click no, and then give your course a name. So we'll call this one Test 6. All right, so we've personalized our course. I'm going to go to the top here and hit build course. All right, so it brings us back to our main page, but when I click under personalized courses now, we can see I have test 6 at the very bottom here. So I can click into it, and now my customized course is all ready to go. And so again, similar to our daily lesson page, we have the what we're learning at the top, and we can click these drop-down menus to jump around. So we're on week 1, but we can change it all the way to up to week 8. And we are on day 1. So week 1, day 1 is the what we're learning. And now these personalized courses are going to dedicate 5 days to learning, almost like a Monday to Friday type deal, but you can obviously do your daily learning whenever you feel like. But what we're learning is week 1, day 1. The how we're learning in the middle here, it looks like it includes some drills. We have the stars, so we know those are quizzes, and then it looks like some audio too. So what I would recommend whenever you're starting a new course or working your way through a course rather, is to start with the content. And the content's always going to come from either the audio, which is that audio video file, or the notes tab here. Okay. If it's a little hard to see any of these tabs, you may not be able to click into it. The audio is less so. So I know that if I do click into it, that it does have audio video content for me to work through. But I would start with the content and then go through the drills and the quizzes. What's also neat about these personalized courses is that we can export all of the vocab to a PDF file. So I hit in the top left corner here, export to PDF. And when I open the file, it collects all of the vocab, all the phrases, all the terms into one big list. And it indicates what week and what day that lesson is. So it's going to give me my terms on the left. So this is what I'd be studying on week 1, day 1. And then on the right, it gives me how to pronounce those terms in Korean. So it doesn't give the Korean characters. It just shows you in English how you would pronounce that particular term or phrase. So this is nice if you are going on vacation and you need vocab or a list of vocab that is based around specific topics or a specific occupation. You could just build the course, export this PDF, and print out these pages to have on hand as you're traveling. All right. Okay, daily lessons, check. Personalized courses, check. Let's take a look at main course. So this is where everything is compiled. Kind of all the content lives here. Now, this isn't a structured course by any means. I recommend using this space when searching for specific material. As an example, maybe you want to learn how to say certain fruits and vegetables in Korean. So this is where I would come into to start searching for that content. When we click on it, well, it's asking me here, last time you were here, you were studying. So it's asking me to resume, but as a new learner, we're going to hit language learning levels. And this sorts the content into these different categories. So things like core vocab, essential verbs, creating sentences, powerful phrases, and conversation. So it makes it easy to navigate exactly what you're looking for. Any additional features within the course will be listed here, and those will be listed below. So the Korean course has this movie, and the movie has subtitles that highlight the same time the actors are pronouncing the subtitles. So it's like a visual way to see how the language is pronounced and what the characters look like as opposed to how it sounds. Again, not every course will have something like this. Some might have more features, things other than movies. And then other courses will have none. Again, it just depends. But when we select a category, let's select core vocab. It'll bring us to our main screen again. Okay, so again, at the top, we have the what we're learning. We have the drop down, so we can choose the level. Beside that is a drop down for different units. These are different topics within the level. So maybe I want to learn about botany. And then depending on whatever unit we've picked, the how we're learning or the steps, it'll bring us to what is currently available. So it's bringing us to drills, so it wants us to start here, okay? And then again, under the how we're learning the steps, we have all the different, I guess, subsets. So listening drills, flashcard drills, voice comparison. We can go to quizzes. We have all the different quizzes underneath. Our audio video file. This is the content that I recommend starting with before doing drills and quizzes. This one has a phrase book that you can download. And what's neat is the Korean course also has this feature called Pro Radio, where they play Korean songs and they have the subtitles in Korean listed beside them. So another neat feature. Now, I'm not clicking on postcards because when I clicked the unit that I wanted, botany, it brought me to drills. If I hit postcards, it might bring me to a completely different section, something that has postcards available to it. So now it's brought me to powerful phrases, absolutely essential expressions. So nowhere close to botany. Okay. But because I've chosen postcards, it's just randomly bringing me to a level and a unit that uses postcards, whereas the botany unit did not. All right, before we go back into the main page and look at the final feature, we're going to look at the navigation in the top right here. Now, all of the course pages on Pronunciator have some version of this navigation, but the main course has all of the features listed because it has things like stats report and settings. So we'll look at them while we're in the main course. So very simple, we have a logout button. Beside that, we have a search tool, and this is how you would look for specific terms or words. So it brings up this search bar, and we can search by level within a unit, particular examples, or maybe a certain type. But if I'm looking for, maybe I want to know how to say ice cream in Korean or phrases that involve the term ice cream, I would select English because I'm searching for the word in English. I would type in ice cream. And when I click search, it brings up a big list. So it has all the phrases on the left, and these are all blue because they are linked. So if we click into one of them, it'll bring us to that course page. We have how to say the phrase in Korean. And at the very end here is the audio. So if we click this, it'll give an audio clip of how to say that phrase in Korean. But let's click into one of these. I will choose ice cream. So we've chosen that one. And it's brought us into the main course in the creating sentences level in the unit with the verb choose. So it's brought us to this. So I know that working through, it's going to have phrasing related to ice cream based on my search results. So that's the search function. Back to our navigation at the top here. Beside that, we have My Stats. And this is just a stats tool that will show a progress report on any completed quizzes. So all these stars here, you can kind of keep track, make sure that you're going through every bit of content that's in the Korean course. Beside that, we have a help tab that'll bring up some help documentation. Beside that is a gear for the settings. And this is where you would adjust the number of times the speaker repeats a phrase. So if once isn't enough, you can change it all the way up to 5 times if you'd like. There's also volume control, a home button, which will bring us back to the very first page we were on, and then a bookmark tab. When I click onto it, it'll have all my previously saved bookmarks listed underneath. So I have some from the Korean lesson, I have one from the Romanian course. But if this is the page that I want to bookmark, I would hit bookmark this page, and then it's automatically saved under my saved bookmarks. All right, we'll go back to the main page, and we'll take a look at the final feature, which is learning guides, the very bottom here. So the learning guides section has content that's narrowed down to specific skill levels or topics. Most of these are 8-week structured courses, so they're easy to just jump in and get to learning. But this is where you would find material for young learners and pre-created guides. Occasionally they add new topics. So for example, most of the courses will have this COVID-19 essential phrases guide. A lot of them have this healthcare course as well. But if I wanted to start beginner course 1, it's automatically going to get me started. And in the what we're learning, if we click on it, we can see it has all the way up to 8 weeks. And if we select our unit, it has all of our days listed too. And it looks like it has multiple sessions for some of these days. Okay, but almost like the personalized course, except it's already created and ready to go right out of the get-go. All right, so that is Pronunciator. And then, before we go on to the next one, as I was saying at the very beginning, last time you were here, you were studying personalized courses. Test 6 was the one we made. So the next time we log in, if this is the one we want to get back into, we don't even have to select our options. We can just click resume this course, and it'll bring us straight back into that Korean course we had created. All right, that is Pronunciator. Let's take a look at our next resource, which is Transparent Language Online. So exact same way to access, we're going to go to our eResources tab. It brings us to our list. We're going to scroll all the way down to T for Transparent Language Online. And again, we have a brand new brochure that's been made. And it has information on the resource itself, account information, about selecting a course, and then some of the languages that are unique to the resource. And as well, we have a video tutorial courtesy of Niche Academy with short 1-minute clips just highlighting some of the different features of the resource. But let's click into it. So I'm going to click the title. And it brings us to this login page. So new users will need to hit sign up. Okay, and you'd enter your library card, and then it'll prompt you to create a username and password. Now I already have an account, so I'm going to enter my information here and hit login. All right. So because I've logged in, it's bringing me right into one of my language courses. As a new user, when you log in, this is the first page you will see. Okay, so it's a little bit different from Pronunciator. Instead of choosing the language that we speak first, or the language we want to learn in, it's asking us to choose the language we want to learn. Okay, and when I click on one of those languages, so if I hit Korean like we did last time in Pronunciator, it'll then list what is available. So I can learn in English for English speakers, I can learn in Spanish, or I can learn in Turkish. So there are not as many options in Transparent Language Online for choosing what your native language is. So just something to keep in mind. Some languages will have different dialect options. So that is anything highlighted in yellow. So if I hit Chinese has a few different dialects. They have the Mandarin Chinese and Cantonese Chinese. Some of the languages will also have the KidSpeak software available. And KidSpeak is a software that's aimed at younger learners, beginner learners for grades K to 2. And those are with the green highlight. So it is available for Chinese, English, French, German, Italian, and Spanish. So just the 6 at the moment. But we're going to go into the French one, French for English speakers. All right, so we are in. So this is our language learning homepage. So it's where we're going to do all of our learning. And it's split into 4 main areas. We have our learning path, which goes all the way down. And this is where users are going to learn new material with the lessons that they find. We have goals. So this is where the user can edit their daily learning goal. Learn vocab. So any vocab and phrases that we've learned in our learning path, once the lesson is complete, it'll be stored here so that we can go over and review them. And then we also have a practice section where there are lots of different tools for listening, reading, speaking, and writing. Okay, now before we jump into this, we'll take a look at our navigation bar at the top here. So because we're in the French language, if we wanted to switch to a different one, we would click this drop down and we can hit more languages. It'll bring us back to our language selection page. But we're good here. Across from that at the top right, we have mobile access link, and clicking on that will bring up a QR code to log into the mobile app. But you can also log into the mobile app using the same login credentials as here. Okay. Beside that, in this drop down is a learning portal. And actually, as a user, you will not have access. It's because I have admin control, so you will not see this in yours. This is the one you will see, and it's our profile. So clicking on this, you'll be able to go in and adjust your account information, your password, if you need any notification settings adjusted. There's also a spot for certificates when you complete lessons, and the option to change our interface language as well. So if I want to change it to French, I would click that. And then the entirety of the course is now changed into French. But we'll change it back to English. And then also a logout button. We have notification settings and a link to help documentation, support, and feedback. Under that, we have this black bar with all these different tabs. So the learning tab is brings us to our learning homepage. The browse tab shows all of the available content within the course. So it's sorted into these categories. Okay, and it has all these tags for what they could be useful for. So elementary vocab as beginner, K to 5, middle school tag. And when you click into them, it'll bring up different options. So this one is divided into levels. So maybe I'm going to click into level 1, and it has all these different lessons available to add to my learning path. So I could start learning it by clicking the green Learn button, or I can add it to my learning path by hitting the plus button. And this will add it to the very bottom of our learning path. So I'm going to add a few of them. And then when I go back to my learning page, I scroll all the way down to the bottom, we can see the level 1 French elementary lessons that I've added. Okay. So those are now on our path from the Browse tab. Beside the Browse tab, we have My Transcript. So once you've completed some of the lessons, you can specify a time period, and it will show you your marks and progress in a transcript report. There is the Resources tab, and this all has resources that are specific to the language itself. So things like blog posts about articles relating to French, a French word of the day. It'll have social media links to the Transparent Language Online French communities. There's a proficiency test, so you can track how well your French is doing. And what I think is really cool is this online eResources space. When you click on it, it has all these free beginner's guides and workbooks that you can download. So you would click on it and it brings it up as a PDF. And it's basically free workbook material, free studying material that you can essentially print off and use for your studying. So very cool. And then beside that, we have the Kids Speak tab. And so it's like this little software program, and for each language it'll look a little differently. Because we're in the French course, it has this French theme with like the Eiffel Tower. But it'll display something like this. It'll have all these different button options. So you would click the question mark and it'll have this overlay that tells you what each of the button options do. So play with animals, we'll have like animal vocab, alphabet vocab, etc. And then there's also this workbook. And when you click on it, it'll download a zip file. And opening that zip file, if we click on this workbook section, will bring worksheets and materials for grades K to 2 that they can work through. And this is all free, so it can be downloaded and printed off and used for younger learners studying. So very cool. All right, let's go back to our learning page and we'll go through this a little bit more in depth now. We'll start with the goal space. I said before that it's a daily goal, so you can't change it from daily to weekly or monthly or anything like that, but you can edit it to a different amount of time. So right now it's just counting that I spend any amount of time in the course, but you could change that to 15, 30, 60, or a preset amount of minutes. You can also go into your history and it'll count your streaks. So it looks like I'm not doing very good. These are all X's that say I have not met my daily goal. Okay, but if I had logged in every day, it'll show a green check mark for all the dates I've logged in, and it'll give me my streak at the very top here. So kind of an incentive to log in every day and not break the streak. The learning path is here, and this is where we're going to do our learning. The bulk of our content is all housed here. So we're going to go into Unit 1, Lesson 1, and I'm going to click Learn. And each lesson is made up of multiple activities. So it's going to bring you to your first activity when you first click in. And it's going to have this kind of black overlay before you get into it, which will have instructions on what to do. So it's telling me to read the objectives and then start the lesson. Okay, so I read my objectives and then start learning. Okay, now we're into our first activity. So it's telling me to hear the sound for an individual line and then listen to the entire conversation as you read along. So I'd click anywhere to get rid of the overlay. So it basically just wants me to go through, click the audio button here, listen to the phrase, and work my way through all the content. Okay, and as I go through, I would hit the arrows. Sometimes there will be a green done button at the bottom here, and it'll bring me to the next activity. If you want to see a list of all the activities within a lesson, just hit the top icon menu here, and it'll show you all of them. And they're actually coded as to what they are. So like headphones would be listening, this blue book is reading, the speech bubble is speaking, and the green pencil is writing. So this lesson 1 is made up of about 9 activities. Okay. And again, once we finish the lesson or one of the activities, that vocab will go into our learned vocab space on the main page. And I'll show you that in a moment here. Another thing to note on this black bar, so we looked at the menu, it also has volume control. We have settings where we can enable or disable those overlays, as well as sound effects. There's an accessibility option for settings for colorblind and hearing impaired users. And there's also a shareable link where you could copy this link and then send it to a friend. And when they click into it, they'll be brought to this exact activity. Okay. This reference dropdown will give a bunch of extra information and resources about the language itself. So if you want to learn more about the French language, it's giving a little overview, maybe the alphabet. It'll tell us all about the characters, how to say them, maybe a bit of the history about them. So lots of different language learning tips and reference that users can use to help them study as they're making their way through the activities and the lessons. We'll go back to our language homepage. So learn vocab, we don't have any in here right now, but when we finish from an activity or lesson, it'll show how much vocab we have learned. And from here, we'll have a drop-down menu where it'll allow us to choose if we want to review the most recent 10 vocab we've learned, if we want to review all the vocab we've learned, and then clicking into one of those options will then go through almost like flashcard style. It'll give you a phrase and then ask you how you would say that phrase. You would click show and it'll tell you if you are correct or not. So kind of like a space to just review previously learned terms to keep the language up to date and keep it fresh in the mind. And then last on the page is the practice space. So lots of different ways to practice for the language, again, sorted by icons. So listening, reading, speaking, and writing. Anything that has this microphone in the top right corner means that you will need to have a mic enabled on your computer. And then at the very bottom here, we have some tests. So anything with this green ribbon is going to be in the test format. So I'm going to click this matching test. It's going to show me all the content available. So I will have to go in and search for what I want. So I've clicked into essentials. These are all the different options. Maybe staying at a hotel. Staying at a hotel lesson 1. So I'm going to practice this vocab. All right. And then because it's formatted as a quiz, it's asking me to drag each item to its match. So I would connect them and then hit submit. And then it'll then give me my quiz score. All right. So that is transparent language online. So a little different from Pronunciator, but unique in some of its features, especially kids speak. But what we're going to do next is we're going to take a look at the mobile versions of each of them. So I'm just going to connect my screen mirroring device here. Now, Pronunciator does not have a specific app at the moment, but it is written in HTML5, which means that it has a responsive design. So it doesn't matter what device you're using, it's always going to adapt to your screen. So I'm using a Galaxy tab right now, and I'm going to go into the Chrome browser. And same as the desktop, I would enter my login credentials. And it brings us to a similar page. Okay, so we have our options to choose what we speak and what we want to learn. And then we have if we want to resume one of the courses. So I'm going to click resume this course for that test one we made earlier, just to see what it looks like. Perfect. So looks almost exactly the same. We have what we're learning at the top, the how we're learning in the middle, and then the actual learning itself in the center here. The only real difference is that our navigation is now in this icon here. So we would click that and we have all of our navigation tools listed vertically. Transparent Language Online does have an app, and similar to Pronunciator, it looks almost exactly the same on a device as it does on the desktop. And so you can download the app using the QR code from that mobile access tab, or you can download it from the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, or the Amazon App Store. So I'm going to click into it. And the app is called Transparent Languages in brackets Online. Okay. There might be another one that says offline. The one that is online is the one you should be using. Okay. So as we can see, it brings up our main learning page. It looks almost exactly the same. It's just squished together a little bit more, but the learning path goes all the way down to the bottom. And again, the only real major difference is that our top navigation is now in the top right corner here under menu, but we can now access our Browse, Transcript, and Resources tab. So if I click into Browse, there we go. It's now listing all of the different categories that we can look through and add to our learning path. So that's really nice, because once you're able to learn one of the resources online on a desktop site, to transfer over to the mobile version is not that much of a learning curve. So, all right. So lastly, what I'd like to do is just show off some of the promo materials that were made. So you've seen the brochures, and those brochures that are on our site are also available on Library Aware. And that is so that you're able to remove the PLS logo and the PLS contact info and input your own library's contact info and logo. And our bookmarks and posters are also on Library Aware as well. Okay. We have an 8.5 by 11 sizing and 11 by 17. That's Pronunciator. Oh. And Transparent Language Online. So the brochure on the website, and then the posters as well. All right. Well, that is it. Those are our 2 language learning e-resources. If you have any questions about either one of these, or you want to learn a little bit more, you can contact me. Or if you want to learn about any of our other if I could speak, any of our other e-resources in general, I'm always free to talk and free to speak about them. So you can contact me at dlotoski@peacelibrarysystem.ab.ca or 780-538-4656. My extension is 125. All right, thank you for your time, everyone, and I hope to see you at the next one. All right, take care.